Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to City Skylines 2 and welcome back to Columbia County. In today's episode, we are going to be focused on pretty much just one thing, which is based on your feedback. Specifically, all of you that suggested replacing the old waterfront path with a pedestrian road so that we could put trams on it. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're also going to be dabbling with a tram depot and a little bit of an industrial expansion over by the rail yard. But for the most part, we're going to be focused on the trams. We're going to be talking about the trams. We're going to be working with the trams. It's trams, 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 from left to right, from the windows to the walls. Let's get to it. So I just got back from a long weekend in Germany, which is really interesting now that I think about it. When the UK region pack came out, I went to Scotland, and then not long after the German pack came out, I went to Germany. I'm not really planning on going anywhere else. I'm not going to be going to France or Japan anytime soon. But what I am doing is getting a little bit sick after traveling, as is tradition with me. I don't know what it is, but every time I get back from any kind of vacation, any kind of trip, I end up with a cough. I end up really nasal or really stuffy, or my throat hurts, or in this case, all of the above. But I'm also really excited because whilst I was in Amsterdam airport, I saw a comment on one of the previous episodes that suggested taking this waterfront area that we have here and that we have the entire way down the city, the entire length of Blackwater, and replacing the pedestrian paths with pedestrian roads, and then putting trams on those roads. And honestly, I thought that was kind of a fantastic idea, so that's what we're gonna do today. But before we do that, I want to turn my attention to the Blackwater Transit Authority, because we need more buses. Every now and then I get a complaint from the bus station over here that says there's not enough vehicles, and so I figure we should look at this guy, which has 25 of 25 vehicles being used, and we should get more buses, especially given the fact that at certain times of day, the green bus line can be really, really busy. Whenever the UK high school or elementary school, whichever one we built in the suburb back there, whenever it lets out at the end of the day, there's 1,500 students that want to get home, and a lot of them want to use buses. And yeah, it's a primary school, which is an elementary school. I call it a primary school, but because I've been doing YouTube for so long, everything's Americanized for me. For a while last year, I was dropping the U out of words like color and favorite and honor. I've corrected that ever since, but for a while there, I was dropping the U. Anyway, onto the Blackwater Transit Authority, I think. So I think to keep this nice and simple, I'm gonna go in here and take out a whole bunch of these trees because we just don't need them right now. And I think what would happen here is the Transit Authority would probably go through and purchase this teeny tiny little farm, which I would imagine this farm has been holding out for years and refusing to sell, but I can't imagine there's all that much in the way of, well, production going on here. There is, some livestock coming out of here, but it's a teeny tiny little farm. So I think Madison Lane and the farm on it is going to have to go away, and we're going to have to go in here. And basically that's the district. That's not what I want. We're going to go in and we're going to get ourselves some extra garages or garages. And I think what we'll do is make sure that anarchy's on, so this works. It's going to go right there. And I'm going to get a second one. I want to say, I guess, right. Well, I could do a little alleyway between these, which might not be a bad idea. We'll do another one there just so I can have an alleyway between them. And that gives me up to 45 buses. And it's just hit me that I should probably go through here with some parking roads. I'm not going to put them in here though, because buses do have to get to those facilities. So I think back there, we could probably get away with some parking roads. And then maybe this guy should have 2 lanes. I think that makes a little bit more sense. We can go through here with some wider sidewalks as well, just to tidy that up. And I think over here, we'll do the wide sidewalks so people are only going to be using the parking spaces at the back there. And I think down here, we could probably do the same. We could probably go in with a little bit more parking just there as well. I could surround the entire space in parking. I don't think that's going to be necessary, but I did notice that there were, before I went and replaced all of these roads with wider sidewalks and grass, I did notice that there was a decent number of cars around here, so I figure this probably makes sense. And I think we'll put a couple of trees just there as well. And I might swap those out for something a little bit different. I don't think we want to go with the default ones anymore. I think we could maybe go in with some slightly larger birch trees, just since that's something I've kind of gone for pretty much everywhere. I don't know why it's doubling up there. That's a really weird choice, but we'll just put them sort of around all of that. I guess we'll put them over here as well. And for this space, like I said, I'm not really too concerned with putting a whole bunch of stuff in here. I don't think there's any services that we urgently need. So I think we're just going to extend this district to include the new garages. We'll put some trees in here, and then we're going to get to the tram thing. So to do the tram thing, we're going to have to spend 2 development points. We have 57 of them, by the way, so this really isn't all that expensive, to unlock trams, which is kind of a given. We're also going to need to place a tram depot somewhere, and I'm not 100% sure where I want to put this. I have been kind of looking at this space out here and thinking it might be the best spot for it, because my thinking was we could bring the tram line sort of down parallel to the train track, and then I'd like to bring it into this road right here, right onto Anchor Street, because we can give it a stop in front of the train station, which is a really, really good point of contact. We can have that overlap between the trains and the trams. You can get off of one onto the other, and then it could continue down in front of these row houses. And this is an area that I want to redevelop as well. I don't want to get rid of the row houses by any means. I love what these look like, but I don't love the inconsistency in their proximity to the streets. It's just kind of bothering me a little bit that some of them are further back than others. So I might go through here. In fact, I am going to go through here and redevelop all of this one way or another, but I might go through with find it and just plop the same growable asset over and over again. But before we do that, this road will need upgraded with some tram lines, and I was thinking that I might put some parking along this road as well, so that we don't have people parking sort of alongside the road. They're in a dedicated parking spot in front of a row house. This project also means that we can get rid of this weird little connection where people are walking through the guardrail, and we can just continue a pedestrian street down the coastline, which I think is going to look a little bit better than what we have going on here. The issue in doing all of this is that I have a lot of surfaces I'm going to have to mess with. I'm going to have to take out pretty much all of the trees that I've put along here, but I think this is going to be good, and I think this is going to be a good idea. So we're going to go through and clear out pretty much all of this vegetation, which, I mean, it's me. I don't I don't really have a problem doing all of this again. I did it once. I will happily do it again, because I'm probably going to do it a million more times. I'm also going to take the vegetation away from here just because I was going to overlap with it anyway. The UK buildings are doing their usual disappearing act, which is always good to see. And I suppose I'm going to start down at this end of things, because it's going to be a little bit easier to do what I want to do down here than it is going to be at the other end of things. So we'll get the pedestrian street. We're going to just do this kind of upgrade, essentially. So just shuffle it out into the water a little bit. We'll try and get our key wall just on the outside there. We want to get something here and something here. And it does stick out into the water a little bit more than I would like, but I think we can work with that, and I think we can live with that. This little path is going to have to go away almost, entirely, completely. So all the way back to there. And what I want to do and what I need to do is somehow, some way, get this to line up in a way that's going to be kind of satisfying. So I think what we'll do is go to, let's say, about here. And let's just, you know what, let's just turn off that key wall upgrade, bring this to about there. And we can use, let's see, this key upgrade just on this side. I'm not too worried about this thing being lower or all sorts of weird heights. We have move it. We can make this all work. So it's going to be a little bit imperfect for now. We are going to come through and try to tidy a lot of this up. We're also going to use the constant slope options there just to make this a little better. And I'm kind of hoping that I can bring this over in a way that's going to look okay. So that lines up. It's 49 meters and 48 meters. So we'll do that connection, which again, it's not perfect, but the curve looks okay. And that's sort of what I'm more concerned about. Now this part, is really tightly hugging the backs of these buildings, but I think what we're gonna have to do is take that path out completely, and we're just gonna do a pretty tight angle here going underneath that bridge. Although, looking at this entire thing, it might just be as simple as going from here and dragging a straight section of road just out here that doesn't quite follow the terrain perfectly, but it does give us a 32-degree angle down there that I think we can work with. So I think that's what we're gonna have to do, which is gonna mess a little bit with some of the zoning that we have down here, but I'm not super worried about that. I think we can make this work. So we'll go for a plus 0.1% gradient on this. I think that's okay. We'll go for about there, and then for this curve we'll just sort of bring you back a little bit, and hopefully we can get this angle to look okay, which is what I'm hoping for. So we'll go for about there. That should be nice and even, which it looks to be, and yeah, I can kind of work with that. Again, we're gonna have to do a fair bit with just a fair bit of move it to make this whole thing look the part, but I think we're getting somewhere with this, and I think that'll work. It's not the perfect curve, but we can go through here. We can add trams there. Oh, that's getting rid of my key wall. That's not something I want to do. I would very much like to keep that key wall if you don't mind. So this is going to get a little bit tricky in this space because this road or this path has been hugging the backs of all these buildings for a little while. So just to make things easier, I'm going to take out that chunk of highway so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to have to go through and just tear out pretty much all of that section of path. I'm going to have to take you and you out as well. And then these little sections too. I'm also going to just take out some of these plants because we really don't need them right now. And as much as I like this surface that we have here, I think those are also going to have to go away until I can kind of see what I'm working with. Now, I think the easiest thing to do here would just be some kind of complex curve that kind of bends here and then bends again. And then we just sort of run parallel here, we curve around, run straight here and into this roundabout. Whether or not I can do that is an entirely different matter, because I would really like these this road, this pedestrian path to kind of continue to hug the backs of these buildings. I really like that as a detail. I think that's really cool. So doing that is a bit of a challenge, which I guess I could sort of do like this. I could sort of have the curve sort of follow the shapes of the backs of those buildings, which is going to be a little bit weird. And then over here, I suppose we kind of bring this down and then curve it around that way, and that's how that's going to go. For this part, I think this is going to be a little complex curve, so we want to go out to roughly, I'm going to say there. We're going to bring it over sort of this way to line up with that guy, and it goes to, say, there. Now, I don't know that I like that. In fact, I really don't like that. So I think, unfortunately, I'm going to have to just follow the terrain and not hug the backs of these buildings, which is unfortunate because that's kind of the vibe we were going for with this whole thing. But I am also kind of committed to the idea that this as an infrastructure change is actually going to be pretty good. I've been looking for a way to bring trams into this build for a little while. I've seen a bunch of comments talking about, you know, adding trams to Blackwater and how they'd be so much more useful than some of the stuff I'm doing with buses. So I do agree. I just haven't really known how to do it until I saw the comment that suggested doing this. So if this goes badly, well, no, I can't really shift the blame to anybody else. That doesn't really seem fair. That seems like the worst thing to do as a YouTuber, shift the blame onto a commenter in a previous video. That doesn't seem like a good thing at all, really. So we'll just not bother with that. I don't like this little curve here. I might have to figure that out, but I think for now we'll just sort of do a rough little setup with all of this. We'll run it down to this roundabout as best we possibly can, and we'll just sort of see what happens is kind of where I'm at with this. And you know, I think this might actually work. With a little bit of move it, I've been able to come in here and just level everything out. We've got some nice little gentle slopes going on. We have our tram tracks in here as well. They're not extending the whole way down here yet because that whole space needs redeveloped. But what I can do is I can come in here with those smaller pedestrian streets, and I'm thinking that I might be able to get them to connect in a way that's relatively satisfying. I can just sort of bring them down like this instead of doing what we were doing before. So this might genuinely be sort of just the best way to do all of this. So we'll put some key walls on either side of this guy. It's going to come straight down to there, and that's going to be our connection to this space instead of the pedestrian paths that we were doing before. And I think that looks okay. It does give us some road access to this space as well, which I don't think my Sims are going to, use and abuse too much. I would imagine my emergency services might come down here a little bit to get onto this pedestrian street, but for the most part, this should be okay. And this also opens the door for me to put some parks down here to make this place a little bit more functional, which I think is certainly a bit of a good thing. But I think what I'd like to do for now is start to come through and start to just reconnect some of these paths that we're missing now. So I don't want this to snap to the sides of buildings. I just want this to come straight down to there, which is a little messy looking, but I think we can work with that. This is going to come straight down to, thinking about it, we don't actually need that crossing there. We can just bring that path down and connect it to the side of the pedestrian road, which, maybe not. Might not work as well as I was hoping it would, but I think we'll just do that, which is fine. This, I know, originally did have like a lot of swooping and stuff going on. I don't think we need to do that again. I think these little connections are perfectly fine. Although thinking about it, we did have, oh, that overlaps a little bit. Oh, I didn't know that. That's a little bit unfortunate. We might have to do something about that. We might just have to tidy that up a little bit. But I think what I will do is bring this guy down. We will put that crossing there. I'll put a crossing there as well. We can sort of go around the backs of these buildings. Do we need to do that? I don't actually know that we do, but I think I'm going to. And I'm realizing I can put my tiny parking lot back in here, which is great. So we're absolutely going to have that guy. We'll bring this over something like this, I suppose. Don't really need that path, but it fills in the space. And I guess back here is also going to need to get its path back. So we'll bring this straight through, and somehow, some way, I need to find a way to connect all this together as well. So you're going to run straight under there, which is great. You're going to connect to this path, I suppose, and we'll get rid of that crossing as well. And for the back of the police station, I think I'm just going to have to do a bunch of trees and some surfaces, but I think we can make that work. Okay, so I think before I start putting all of the trees back in here, I want to go through, and I would really like to start adding some little pocket parks. So we have the wide pocket park, which I think can live right about there. I think that's a totally fine spot for it. I would be inclined to say that we do another one here, again, just to sort of bring people down to this space, and probably another one right about there, again, to bring people down to the space, although I might need to do a little bit of terraforming here just to flatten this out a bit, because it does look a little bit weird. So we'll just sort of level this all out as much as we can. That looks a fair bit flatter than it did. And then this guy is just going to live right about there. I can fix that surface. That's really no problem. It is the same park over and over again, which I don't necessarily love, but it does fill the space in a really cool way. We could do this canopy covered one as well, which I'm not really against doing. I think I might just throw a couple of canopy parks in there just again to change things up a little bit. We do have room along here for things like these standard little tiny parks, which again, I'm not necessarily against doing. I think it would make more sense if these benches were facing the water, which is kind of what I'm looking for. We could do some small playgrounds down here as well, which might be kind of fun. We have the little square pocket parks, the little urban pocket parks, the canopy covered one again, the wide one. The wide ones maybe not terrible. Dog park down here would actually be kind of cool as well. I think I might have to integrate it a little bit better though, but that right there is kind of a cool spot for a dog park. So I think that's what we're going to do, is just use this as an opportunity to go through and some way, somehow, just add a bunch of functionality to this space. I'm also noticing that this terrain isn't perfect, but honestly, that's probably fine. Okay, so with a majority of the landscaping done around this new waterfront, we somehow, some way need to come in here and redevelop this space. And this is the part that I'm kind of most nervous about, because I do really like this space, but I think to do what I want to do, I'm gonna have to go in and basically take out all of the landscaping across here, because the road we're gonna be putting in here is gonna be a little bit wider than what we have right now, at least up to about this point, and probably these guys need to go as well. We're gonna need to take out this little section of road. This park is gonna need to go. These connections are going to need to go, and I suppose the way I can do this is to get rid of you and maybe get rid of that surface as well. In fact, let's not, let's not do that. Let's not, let's not have to redo that entire surface. We're gonna put this connection back in here, but I want to do it this way, because if I do it this way, I get myself a little node right here. Now that does mess up the zoning and all of these guys, which is really frustrating actually, and I don't love that. But if I do it this way, I can hopefully go ahead and upgrade this road, which is what I'd really like to do. So that's done it in such a way that doesn't mess with the zoning, which is great. These guys all need to go away, and then this road gets swapped out for, I guess, this guy, not the alleyway one, the 2-lane angled parking road is what we're going for. And it's basically going to live, oh, it probably should live there. Now that I think about it, we probably should just push everything back a little bit, which is going to mean moving that roundabout. But actually, I think this is going to be the better call. I don't love what it's doing down here. I'm not a huge fan of this. I don't love that little sort of twist in the road right there, but that might end up staying because I really like that this building's here. I love that it's called Thick Digital, and I love that it's been there forever. So I don't know what we're going to necessarily do with that, but we'll figure it out. Either way, this is kind of doing what I wanted it to do. I just need to go in here with some, I'm going to say European row houses is probably what we had in here. I think that entire thing is going to be zoned as European row houses. They are going to be smaller than what we had before, but I think that's going to look better. And if it doesn't look better, then eventually I'm going to go in here and just sort of rebuild it all by hand. But for now, I'd really like to avoid doing that. I'm also wondering, can I bring this down in a way that doesn't snap weirdly? I'm not too sure that I can, but I think that's as good as it's going to be. Obviously, this is probably a bit much in the way of parking for this space. I also love that the homelessness bug has been fixed and that all of these people are now just leaving. They're all just heading for the train station. Every single one of them heading for the train station right now, which is absolutely fantastic. I think when it comes to this twist in the road though, we have a couple of options. We could use move it to sort of shuffle this around a little bit and kind of make that twist a little bigger potentially. Like if we drag it back sort of this way, we can kind of drag it out in such a way that we get a bit of a bigger curve going on here, which I don't mind that actually. I'd also like to make sure that Thick Digital isn't going anywhere. So we're going to lock you in the hopes that that's going to stop it from getting weird. And then if we go in here and just make those sidewalks a bit wider, does that look okay? I think it does. I want to say that that's all right. And I want to say if I go in here and put some trees on this side of the road, that just looks so much better to me. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm going for. The curve is whatever. I think we can live with that. We're going to put some bushes and stuff on this side of the road anyway, so that'll be totally fine. And I think what we're going to do is swap out those trees for, well, let's have a look and see what we can do with the trees. I'm not too sure. The apple trees are actually pretty good looking. The poplar trees are a safe bet as well. I don't mind those at all. I might go birch just because it's a little bigger, but I'm kind of thinking poplar is going to be the way to go on this. And yeah, I like that a lot. This is going to have to move. This absolute mess going on down here is going to have to change. We might be better getting rid of the roundabout now that I think about it. It really might not be a bad idea. It does have sort of symmetry with this guy, but I think it's a little unnecessary. So if we take you out and take you out and then sort of push this back, we might be able to do something better there. So if I very quickly use a gravel road to put a node, say there, bulldoze this part, and then somehow, some way, I need to connect these guys together. So we want to go from here, we want to get our guidelines, and yeah, this is not, this is not going to go well at all. This might look actually terrible, but we're going to try our best and see if we can make it work. I'd really like this to line up with the middle of that road, which it doesn't seem to want to do. What if I put a cut right here? What if that's the thing that we do? So we go, put a little cut right there, get this corner, bring you out, try and get the guidelines to behave, which they really don't seem to want to do. I think that's about as good as it's going to be. I think right to about there is all we can do. And honestly, that kind of works. I think if we go in there and we add a key wall to this section, I think that looks okay. And then all I need to do is continue my tram lines the entire way down this road. It's not perfect. It's absolutely not perfect, but I don't think it has to be. And all I need this to do is run the entire length of this road down in front of the trains, and then it's going to run out that way and connect over to a tram depot eventually. And I think that's just how it's going to be. And I think that's going to work. And I think I can also go in here and maybe get rid of some of the roadside parking at these guys. They can park in that parking lot. I think that looks okay. I think that wraps around pretty well. I think this bit over here just needs to keep its key wall, and it's pretty solid. I think that's, I think we're onto something here. And I suppose while we're here, we should probably reconnect a bunch of these paths so that they're going to behave kind of nicely, which is what we're looking for. So you're going to go to about there, which I think is important. I think we should also get a little path that just goes to about there as well. Since we do have that little pedestrian crossing in the road, I think it's important that we kind of line up with that so that everything kind of works nicely. A little bit of weirdness going on with the terrain there. Not too sure how I feel about it. It might not be a bad idea to do this properly and sort of start maybe here and just sort of run this straight down. I really don't want it to, I don't want it to be elevated. I need it to connect just normally to there. And that looks much better. So we have that connection. And then this part is going to be a bit of a nightmare potentially, or maybe not. Is that something I can upgrade to? Oh, now it looks a little funky if you look at it closely, but other than that, I think that might actually be all we need to do. Can I smooth this all out? I totally can. I can bring this all right back out here and then just hit that with a bit of a smoothing brush. And I think that's all we needed to do. I think that's, I mean, that bit of land in there is a bit nasty looking. We'll just try and ignore it. Otherwise, though, I think that is going to be the length of our tram road, which means I can go in here and I can say, well, I'm going to need the depot first, but I can add some stops in front of the trains. I can add them maybe in front of these houses. I can add them down here. I can add them in front of these apartments. I can add them in front of the welfare office and in front of our new district as well. And you know, I really wasn't kidding when I said that all of those people that were kicked out of their houses were going straight to the train station. Every single one of them is going to be heading for a train platform. Not too sure which platform they're going for, but they're going to be leaving town. We also have all of these houses coming in. They all look exactly the same, different colors, but exactly the same model, which, you know, looking at it, it definitely has a little bit less character than was here before, but I think it's okay. I think with the trees and the parking and everything going on, I think this is a bit of an upgrade to this space, or a downgrade. If you were living here, I don't imagine you would be thrilled about the idea of trams going up and down in front of your house, but, well, I don't live here. Oh, that's something I should build at some point. It's like a little like a mayoral mansion or something like that would be kind of cool. Like, kind of like what I did with that one signature building in, I think the last episode. Little like mayoral estate would be kind of cool, I think. I'm not really too sure what that would look like. I might have to do some research into just that sort of thing in the United States and figure out where it would go and what it would look like. But that might be a fun little project for a future episode. But for now, we've just got these bushes right back where they belong alongside that road. I'm kind of thinking of doing the same. I don't know if I want to put more poplar trees in here, but I think some birch trees, maybe 8 meters apart along this space as well, might be kind of interesting. I think that's actually a little bit much, maybe 12 meters. And then with some varying ages as well. I just placed them all in here. That is not where they were supposed to go. Not what I'm looking for at all. So we'll start about here. We'll drag these out. Does that look any better? You know, I don't think it does. I actually don't think it does. I think we could maybe do that with poplar trees along the water down here. Maybe something like that. Or I just don't do any kind of tree lining and instead I just freeform it the way I kind of did down here. I think that might actually be the better call, as we just go in here and place a bunch of trees by hand. And there we go. We have all of these trees in here. I'm really pleased with how this space has sort of come back together. I don't want to spend too long looking at this because we built this so long ago, but I think this is a good little upgrade to the space. And I'm really excited to get some trams running along here. I really, really am. I still don't know where the tram depot is going to go. And I suppose it doesn't have to be super complicated. It really doesn't. I'm also thinking that these little power lines might just have to go away because I probably will use that space just out here. So we'll just clear these guys out. I think there's an underground one that I guess is connected to something there, but these guys can go all the way back. Not 100% sure where it's connecting to. It looks like that road there. So at some point, yeah, I think a long time ago we did upgrade this road. Oh yeah, no, they're running right down the middle of this road. That's not where power lines are supposed to go. Oh my God, they're running the entire way down that road. That's terrible. I can't believe I never upgraded these before now. They definitely sort of needed it for sure. Let's bring them down here. We'll just bring them down the sides of this road the way we have before, apparently. We'll bring them over to this side and down to, I guess, this spot. I don't really know where these are supposed to go. Not 100% sure where I had them connected to either. So that's going to be a fun little bit of discovery, I suppose. And I think we'll just go underground with them. Oh no, they don't go. Well, you know what? They can go underground to there. And I guess they can, oh yeah, they connect out to this guy. Is that all they were connected to? It kind of looks like it. Are we missing power anywhere else? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, you guys are not very happy about my my decision to change the power lines, it would seem. So we'll just go ahead and connect two here, bring it straight across. We'll sort of bring it around this this curve as best we possibly can to about there, and they should be a little bit happier. There we go. All right, so that clears up that space, which is what I was looking to do. I suppose what we'll do as well is go in here with a brush and clear out these trees because we're really not going to be needing them all that much. And I suppose I'm just going to put a road that goes out there. It's going to have to be a regular road though, because I'm going to probably want to put some tram tracks on it. So we'll go ahead and put that road connection, I'm going to say right here, is going to be our spot for it. We'll go ahead and turn off all of the parallel stuff. We'll just sort of bring this straight out to about there. Should be fine. I'm not super worried about zoning on this thing because it doesn't really, it's probably not going to have any. And then for the trams themselves, the depot is just going to live basically here, is kind of what I'm thinking, is we just put it right there and I can detail around it. It does have an upgrade for 5 more vehicles. We might as well get that from the jump. That seems like a fair thing to do. And I think we could also use move it to just grab this guy and maybe we just level everything out. Maybe just grab these nodes, grab these roads, get everything to the same height, which I think it is now, which is what we're looking for. Okay, so with this facility in place, along with some parking facilities, because I just couldn't help myself, and I thought the solar panels kind of looked cool. I thought it was sort of interesting to have them there, and then the multi-story fit perfectly in between them. Basically, I just wanted to put something else out here just to kind of make it look a little bit bigger. I also shuffled it back, which meant that the upgrade went away, so very quickly we'll just put that on the back again. And now it's the challenging part. Now is the figuring out how to make this run parallel to this existing bridge, which is, it's straight from about here to about there. It's mostly a curve that's going on with this bridge. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. I might I might give up on the idea of making this entire thing parallel. It might be a really bad idea, but I'm going to do my best by going in here. We're going to make sure this thing's elevated, and we're going to go to, we'll start with 10 meters and see if I can get this to line up, which unfortunately it looks like I can't. So I think the best thing to do is going to just be to eyeball this. And I'm very tempted to put them like right next to each other, although that wouldn't really make too much sense. So I think what we'll do is just, I think we will just eyeball it. We'll go about here to about there. Seems about as good as I'm going to get. That looks pretty solid. I don't know if it's high enough at all, so we'll use move it just to sort of grab these guys, get them to be the same height as the existing bridge section there. And then this entire thing just sort of needs to curve around. So we're going to go through this farm the way we did with the train line. We are going to go from basically right about here to wherever the curve starts on this train line, which is about there. And I just need to curve up with the tram lines is all I need to do. And in theory, this should look okay. In theory, this should work. So that looks to be 180. So we're going up to there. We want to elevate this and have a nice straight slope. Something like that is honestly okay. I think we're onto something there. And then I'm going to need to sort of S-bend this thing down to that existing section of road. So we'll take out these trees so I can see what I'm working with as per usual. And yeah, this is going to be the challenge, is getting this little S-bend to kind of work. So we'll get a complex curve. We want to go and start curving. I want to say here is kind of where I want the curve to start. We're going to go up to there. So that's 104 meters, 54 meters in the curve section, and 103 meters down to there. Does that look okay? I don't know. Honestly, yeah, actually, kind of. Is it a little bit weird? Yeah. Is it gonna be a little bit weird? Also, yeah. Can I make this work? I think also, yeah, this might actually work out, which, if it's not obvious by the tone of my voice, I wasn't expecting it to. I was expecting this to be a lot more tricky than it's proving to be so far, which has got me really excited to see some trams going up and down my my waterfront here. I'm really, really keen to see if this works. Also gonna put some trees just sort of back in this space, put some trees kind of around these guys, just to sort of blend it into the tree line that I did on the other side there, and just sort of to fill that that space in just a little bit. Actually, I might have a bit of an idea. I don't know if I'm gonna love this idea or hate it, but my thinking is that in theory, if I can make this work, I could have my trams sort of go down this road, which I'm not against doing. We'll have it go across here and across here. We're gonna have it come down this road, down to here, and down to here. So it loops around, which I think is a good thing. I think that'll kind of work. We can have it sort of loop around this way, and somehow, some way, I'm gonna have to get this connection to work a little bit better than it is right now, but I think that's a thing we can manage to do, maybe using this little old lane traffic connector thingy. If I can make this work, that'd be really great. I just don't know for sure that is a thing I can do. Oh, it is a thing I can do. Well, that's good. that's what we're looking for. That can go over to there, and yeah, that's basically what we're looking for. So now the trams are going to be able to go into this new district, which I'm not really against doing. I don't think there's any need to do it, but they can go to there, which I think is kind of fun. We could have them go to there, which I think is kind of fun. And I suppose they can still stop down here. I don't think stopping in the middle here is going to be good for anybody, but we're going to do that just because, again, I think it'll be kind of fun. And then we can go in now, and hopefully, assuming the tram lines are going to behave at the other end of things, we can get something that's going to go up and down this little waterfront. And I don't think it needs to stop in front of those guys. Somehow I need to get it to go there, which again, it does not seem to want to do. So I think the solution on this one is going to be to bring a tram road down this way and around. I think we can get rid of the trams here, and I think we can get rid of the trams on this side of the road so that it loops around a very particular direction. And it just hit me that I do need to keep this connection over here because that's what goes out to the depot. So very nearly made it impossible for the trams to head out, but that is exactly what they're doing. Let's have this line be a bit of a different color. We're gonna go for, I don't know what's gonna look good going up and down in front of that water. I'm gonna say like a nice sort of orangey color is what we can go for that tram line. How many vehicles? We've got 9. I think we can go down to like 5 for now. I don't think we're gonna need 9 trams here, but I've gotta say, this looks really cool. Having trams going in front of those row houses, then out onto our waterfront. Really excited about this. I'm really hoping that it's going to help with transit across just Blackwater in general. There's someone just got off of our first new tram as well, which is very exciting. You know, I don't even think I can put into words how happy I am with these trams just going up and down here. It's such a beautiful little combination of transit systems. We've got our buses right here, and you can go straight from a bus to a tram. You can hop off a tram further down and get onto a train. I'm really hoping to see these guys do good things for Blackwater. I just think it might be a case of waiting for a few minutes to see sort of how they integrate into everything that we have. So I think I'll let the game sit for 5 or 10 minutes and we'll see what happens. And so, given a little bit of time, the trams are sort of becoming a part of the daily routines of many of my sims. I would like to see more numbers than we're seeing right now, but it looks like we're sort of getting there. There's 35 passengers waiting here, which is fantastic news. This tram has 8 people on board, which is not quite as good news, but that's fine. This one is 16. That's literally double, which is definitely a little bit better. We have some people still waiting around here, and all in all, I suppose buses are still probably a pretty healthy way for people to just get around Blackwater. I suppose going up and down the waterfront is it's appealing to me as an actual person, but, well, alleged actual person. But I don't know how appealing it's necessarily going to be to the Sims in the game getting sort of figured out by the computer and the AI. The computer. Nothing makes me feel older than when I call like NPCs or like AI in a game the computer. It's like playing it reminds me of playing fighting games in the 90s when, you know, you didn't win against like the game or versus AI or versus NPC. It was versus the computer. And it just, just nothing makes me feel more my age than referring to non-playable characters or whatever as the computer. Sorry, I just had to, oh man. I need to go play Fortnite and floss or something in 10 minutes just to sort of feel young again. Oh man, if I tried flossing, I'd throw out a hip most likely, so it's not actually gonna happen, but we can dream, we can imagine, we can pretend that I'm young again. Anyway, in one of the previous episodes, I don't remember which one, I talked about the fact that a lot of this roadside parking, as much as I love it and as great as it is going to be taking away from some of the money that we could potentially be making in Blackwater. And something that I did to claw back some of that money was to go around all of my parking facilities and crank the parking fee to $50, which is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not happy about doing that. And it is a little bit cheesy and a little bit cheaty because it seems like the Sims don't care. The parking lots are full every single time. And this is a trick that goes back to when City Skylines 2 came out. You could just crank the parking fees, and for the most part, the Sims just did not care. They just park there regardless, and so they pay the parking fees. My concern was that by having all of these parking roads, they weren't going to be paying parking fees. And then someone correctly pointed out in the comments that there is a policy where you can do roadside parking fees, which is good because I extended the Blackwater district itself to cover the entirety of Blackwater with the exception of Sheffield Downs and Anchor Junction. And so I figure we're going to do a roadside parking fee, and I'm kind of curious to see just how much more money I start making as a result of it. We were about $25,000 per hour without this. We're going to be doing $10 roadside parking fees, and I'm kind of just curious to see, you know, what that number does. Although it seems like the answer is fluctuates. It goes anywhere from as low as $22,000 to as high as $29,500. And honestly, that's fine. I'm just being a little bit greedy at this point. I think it's fair to say $664,000 per month is a lot more than I think we've ever made in Blackwater. So I really don't think I can be all too bad to that. I think that's pretty good. Now, in other news, I've been looking out towards the rail yard for a little while, and I've been thinking that I might just put some industrial space out here. I don't want to go too crazy with it. I don't want to completely surround this space in super dense industrial zoning, but I figure we can do something out here, and I figure I'm gonna do it by hand because I can then select some buildings that aren't gonna have, you know, smokestacks, which is something I'd really like to avoid. So we'll just get some basic little sort of warehouse looking lots in here, and I think that's a pretty good way to fill out this space, assuming that I can get some decent little warehouse looking lots out here. Just a bit of variety in some of these I think would be great. So we'll do, I don't know, this little guy right about here. We could do, I suppose, another one here. Can I get one that's 3 wide? I absolutely can. It can live right back there. They're all very similar looking buildings, which I don't necessarily love, but I think that's okay. I think we can get away with this. I'm sort of specifically staying away from absolutely huge buildings Although one right there might look interesting, maybe a level 5 one right about there could look kind of interesting as well, just to sort of change things up a little bit. But I just think a little bit of industrial zoning around this is kind of the right way to go. Okay, so with these buildings in here, we've put a pretty good dent in our industrial demand, which is fantastic news. And I'm hoping we're going to see a bit of traffic coming out here and making this place look a little bit more active, which is also a good thing. But I'd also like to go in here and just detail this space a little bit more than what's going on right now. And I'm thinking we could play around with some different surfaces. We do have the riverbeds thin surface that we've used in a few places before. And I'm kind of thinking that putting this just sort of between all of these different train tracks might look kind of interesting, assuming it doesn't overlap with the existing gravel texture that's in here, which I'm really hoping it doesn't. And if it does, it means I'm going to have to go through here and place this all by hand and sort of manually in each little different section, but it doesn't overlap. And that's kind of got the look that I'm going for. And that seems pretty good to me. We can put some trees around all of this. Obviously, this might extend out to the region at some point, but I think that's okay. And I think what I'm going to do is just go in here with a tree brush. I'm kind of inclined to just use some oak trees, since that seems to be what's mostly around this place already. And now I think we can go in with our usual tree brush and just get a little bit of variety into some of these. So we're kind of bringing it all together. I don't want to go too crazy in here. I think that should probably just stay as it is. But this part, for example, we can start to bring it all together, make some really, really dense forestry in there. Now, what I think we'll do is go in with a little bit of anarchy and just start to kind of bring these tree lines together a little bit, so you can't really see where the rail yard asset ends and my trees and my surfaces kind of begin, because we have got some very clear boundary lines around the asset right now. So we'll just bring all of this together as best we possibly can, and I think that's doing a pretty good job of masking everything a little bit. Oh, you guys are abandoned. Why? Empty and available for rent. I guess I might have put some level 5 warehouses in here, and that might have been a really bad idea. I don't think Blackwater's industry was necessarily ready for some level 5 warehouses. And you know, with a couple of downgrades on some of these buildings, down from level 5 to level 3, everything seems to be working, which is fantastic. We've got a bunch of people parking out here, which I absolutely love to see. It's a beautiful bit of detail to the space. We got some trains chilling out here. We've got people working out here. We've got our trees around here, and we've got our tram depot just over here as well. We've also reached a point where we're regularly earning between $31,000 and $35,000 per hour, which means our monthly balance is now $750,000, which is a lot of money. That is a lot more money than I necessarily, well, I was gonna say that's more money than I know what to do with, but that's a lie. I know exactly what I'm gonna do with that money. If that stays relatively consistent, I think the plan is going to be that we're going to come out, we're going to buy some new tiles out this way, and maybe in the next episode, maybe the one after, it'll be it'll be shortly after this one that we start working on another little town on this map. I've seen a couple of people saying, you know, don't leave Columbia County. We're not doing that. To be clear, that's not the plan. I've talked about kind of being done with Blackwater a few times. When I say done with Blackwater, what I mean is just the bulk of the build. You know, the majority of it is done. And I mean, we still have this space down here that needs a bit of love, but I want to move to other parts of this map. We have other needs and demands. We still need a bunch of coal. We need a bunch of rocks. And so coming down this way and building a little mining town down this way is exactly what I would like to do. So that might be the next episode. That might be the one after that we get started in that. But we're not, you know, we're not leaving Blackwater forever. It's just the bulk of the build is kind of there. It'll still continue to develop. It'll still grow a little bit. Some of the services in Blackwater are going to be needed for the other town on this map and the other towns on this map. We're going to have transit connections between this and everything else that we're doing. It's all going to be interconnected on the one map. We're not leaving Columbia County. We're just sort of, you know, adding to Columbia County. And you know, I've got to be honest, this feels like a really weird place to leave this episode. It feels like I've done nothing because in a way I haven't really done all that much. We've just done this entire sort of waterfront redevelopment with the trams here. And I love this. It's a weird one. So the next episode of the series, I want to do something a little bit bigger. So starting that new town might not be the worst idea. I feel bad is kind of what I'm getting at. I feel a little bit bad that we haven't done anything huge today, but to be fair, this tram thing was, those UK bill, I really got to figure those out. This tram thing was an idea that I've sort of been thinking about, you know, how to get them in here, and putting it on the waterfront was a suggestion in at least a few comments on the last episode or the last couple of episodes. I've seen it a couple of times throughout the series, so I'm glad we could all be on the same page with the idea of putting some trams in here. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it's a bit of a different application for trams than what I've done before, so that's very exciting. It's just a weird feeling looking at the city and really not seeing all that much different with it from where it was, you know, this time last episode. But you know what? That's okay. We're not going to worry too much about it. I think what we can do, I also love how these houses are coming together. I really like those little balconies, and might freeze a bunch of these buildings to look like that instead of the upgraded ones. I don't know. We're throwing ideas around. We'll see what sticks. But I think for today, I think that is going to do us for today. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. I do apologize once again for my voice being a bit shot. That's why this episode's going out a day later than it was supposed to. My voice is not quite where I want it to be right now, so it's a bit of a struggle, but we're getting there. The show must go on, and it will. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.